Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mantra Portal, guys. Today's episode, it's going to be literally my favorite topic ever, mental health. But we're going to do a little format that I think I want to introduce you guys to. This is how my brain works and this is how I live every single day, which is questioning. So I just want to ask a bunch of questions and just leave them there unanswered because I just want to plant seeds of questioning in everyone's head and in my own head. I think this is a very good way to stay curious and, to just analyze life. So, we're going to start with this question. Is matcha toxic? Then the next question is, what is toxic? And what is healthy? I mean, I want to start with these three questions because I think that the beauty and the duality of life itself is that you can answer this by saying yes, no, but there's every single thing that has a yes and a no side, a positive and a negative side. So answering, is matcha toxic? Anything can be toxic. What is toxic? Literally everything can be toxic if you do it excessively. And what is healthy? Well, a lot of things can be healthy and a lot of things can be toxic depending on what's your intention. The intention changes everything. If we go back to nature, if you think about it, sugar, drugs, alcohol, everything comes from nature. But it took the intention of one person to turn this into an addictive, negative substance that brings death and a lot of poisoning and bad things to someone's life and destruction, whatever. Right? Everything can be good or bad depending on our intention. We can make magic either black or dark magic, right? And we're going to get a little bit mystical here, and I'm so sorry if this is too much for you. Then I welcome you to stop listening to the podcast because this is the type of things that I like to talk about. And yes, I do get a little mystical here. And you can ask even, am I talkative or am I a neurotic person? You can answer that based on your point of view. If you're a doctor or if you're someone very serious or if you're someone that is very objective or if you're someone that's very spiritual. It depends. Everything has a context. And I like to understand that everything in life will be changed depending on the context. We often jump on conclusions based on results. And well, in my perception of things, this is the worst thing that we can do because how are you going to come up with a conclusion only knowing the result of something without knowing the context of the equation that gave you this result, right? This is why I can get canceled, and I'm sorry if this is hard to digest, but I personally think that every bad person or every person that acts wrong in life has to have a reason why they were doing that. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse that to justify shitty behavior, but there's always a reason why, right? And this is why I like to question everything. I'm going to give you guys my own experience on mental health today. So please bear with me. Everything that I say, it's completely personal. Nobody has a complete right opinion. And I'm going to try to be as transparent and mindful as possible here. But I'm going to talk about my own opinion. My experience with mental health has been that no matter what you do, no matter what you are doing with your life, with your work, with your job, with your studies, and with everything. If your mental health is not okay, nothing is okay. I come from a family with a lot of genetic issues when it comes to mental health. Grew up seeing my father being a person with a bipolar disorder, bringing a lot of trauma and a lot of hardships to my life. And I was, after 25 years of life, I was diagnosed with the same di- disorder as my dad. And am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. I always knew there was a chance that this could happen, right? But I've learned, and I've always had this particularity that I listened to my body, and I knew, and I gave the signs, and I communicated to the right people at the right time that there was something happening. And thankfully, I can say thankfully, everything was found on time. And as I sit right here talking about this topic, I'm like, sometimes we get so distracted with little things, and I really question, in what moment did we get confused, or in what moment did humans really think, I'm sorry, that we were designed, or we were created to, or that we just came to this universe. Let's say that we were not designed or created, that we just exist, right? In what world does it make sense that we came to this planet and this universe to work and be constantly stimulated by negativity and power and ego and a bunch of negative things, and that we were just supposed to go to work, just absorb a lot of people's energy, and come home drained, and then sleep and repeat? Oh, let's say that we have a nice routine. Let's say that we work out, we cook, and all of that. But where was it? Who invented this constant triggering stimulus thing of having to pay bills and having to live this stressful life? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it, and it's crazy how we get so stressed and so into this dimension of repetitive automatic living, where we don't see that we are vibrating at lower frequencies, where we are constantly suffering because we're hanging out with people that it's suffering, and then we consume content online that brings suffering, and it's just like a bunch of negativity and like shitty people and shit. Guys, what the fuck? I don't understand where we got into this lie. It's a lie. And it's funny because I was diagnosed as delusional like 2 weeks ago when I was in the hospital. Delusional and paranoid. And I was like, yeah, a little paranoid. Maybe I was. And I had no idea I was going through a mental episode of my bipolar, my first episode ever. I had no idea. All I knew is, for the first time in my life, I was putting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries with the people around me. And were everyone was saying that I turned into an aggressive person. Why aggressive? Because I'm not letting you to overstep on my boundaries anymore. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy because for everyone's opinion, it can just vary. And at the end of the day, you have to do whatever makes sense to you. There's some, and I said this in my first episode, there's some people that could say that I am a people pleaser and that I do everything to make my family happy, to make my friends happy, and that I have no boundaries whatsoever. And then there's other people that could say that I am egotistic and I'm selfish because I'm not being humble enough, or I'm not thinking about other people enough, or um I'm not being empathetic enough. And there's others that say that I'm too empathetic, and then it's me saying, "Bro, I like to be empathetic, but I don't like when people are abusing either." And whatever, at the end of the day, it's whatever makes sense to you. You need to protect your peace at all costs and accept it, but question everything. That for me is the key of it all. It's questioning. Right now, am I being talkative or am I being neurotic? Am I an introvert or an extroverted person? What do I feel like? Why can't I be both? Why, when I sit and talk to a friend and I'm like, oh my god, I am an introvert, like this gives me so much anxiety, they're like, oh my god, you're a lot of things but not an introvert. Why? How do you know that I'm not an introvert? You might see the results, but you don't know how I'm feeling inside when I'm dealing with a bunch of people, or how I feel after I deal with a lot of people. Am I smart or am I ignorant? Whoa, what if I'm both? I'm smart for a lot of things that I know, and I'm an ignorant for bunch of other things that I have no idea about. And I think that questioning is the key of everything. And you can even question questioning. Is questioning curiosity or is it sassiness? The fact that you question even the most expert doctor in front of you. And that's the beauty of life, the duality, the contrast. What is real in this life is energy, light, and color, physics, math, science. You go to everything, and everything goes down to energy, light, the Big Bang Theory, all of it, frequencies, vibrations, and all of this is literally, it's in nature. It goes down to, what are we? We are human beings, but we're more than just three-dimensional beings. We're spirit. We are emotional. We vibrate. We feel music. We are sensitive to other people's energies. We have a beautiful machine, more powerful than any phone, um than any computer, and it's our brain. Everything has come from an idea, and everything has come from our brain. How come we still don't realize these things? And I want to invite you to think, why does art, music, culture, travel, food, why does all of this become so popular and so like amazing? Why do arts, music, and culture actually builds up to everything that we know? It's because at the end of the day, it all comes from love and experiences that we, as human and spiritual beings, have the power to transform. It all goes back to laws of Newton. It's energy. Energy doesn't create or destroys, it just transforms. We transform energy. We have the power of transform suffering into art, suffering into music, into poems, into everything and anything that we want to. We are the magic. Why fashion? Fashion. I particularly worked in fashion for the last, I would say, 10 years of my life. Why did I pick fashion? Why has fashion become such an important and particular aspect into culture nowadays? Have you stopped yourself to think about this? Why fashion? It's because it's an unspoken language, because it's visual. We are, of course, we have all of our senses, but visually we get so stimulated, right? And fashion became this unspoken language where it doesn't matter where you're traveling, what place you're visiting, you can tell how someone is feeling, how they think about themselves, how they feel about themselves, or what they're trying to portray based on what they're wearing. And this is the reason why I picked fashion as my career. Then I got into luxury fashion, and once I started to study, I realized that fashion was this superficial um world. Also, luxury fashion was this superficial world where people will actually treat you as seen on the movie The Devil Wears Prada. And I didn't like that shit. I was like, why can't we all make art and fashion and enjoy it without having to, compete with each other, or without having to make people feel miserable about themselves? Why? I couldn't understand it. And then 5 years ago, I quit school. Yes, literally, I'm a college dropout because I couldn't. Yeah, I'm a pussy. I couldn't deal with the pain of someone that I admired immensely telling me that I wasn't good enough and that I was not understanding and that I was wasting his time. I didn't want to deal with that. I was like, you know what? Thank you for the opportunity, but this is not for me. I will protect my peace at all costs, and I've risked a lot of great opportunities in my career. But I don't regret any of my decisions because every move that I made was because I knew that I deserved better. And yes, I'm still super young, whatever. People still try to make me feel less because I am young, as if I picked and choose in what year to be born. Duh. That's so ridiculous. But anyway, dude, like I I'm not going to regret, never, any of the decisions that I've made because I've always taken them knowing that I deserve better. And my diagnosis of bipolar disorder and all of this, I just learned to live with it. And it's difficult because there were other things that were found on my brain and that I'm still dealing with, and obviously a lot of things that came with my diagnosis and also as results of consequences of choices that I made and decisions and actions that I took. I've had to deal with, the aftermath, but I'm okay, and I know that I can deal with this. And thankfully, I went to the hospital, and thankfully people did tests on me, and thankfully they found what they needed to find because I was living life letting other people abuse and not understanding that I am a HSP, which is a hypersensitive person, and I didn't understand my brain enough, and I always knew that there was something happening but never fully believed that I wasn't exaggerating. And to be in a hospital and to be told things that I always knew but that I never expressed because the people around me didn't believe me is the perfect example that we have our intuition and we need to trust our intuition. And it doesn't matter if your parents don't want to listen, and it doesn't matter even if the system doesn't want to listen. You have to listen, and you have to do whatever you can to protect your own peace. And you have to understand that if you have good intentions, if you're not being just a dramatic person trying to get attention, if you have good intentions and if you're being transparent, always the universe will conspire at your favor. And I own my diagnosis right now. Yes, I've always thought that people with bipolar disorder were geniuses, and I studied Kanye West, and no, I don't think that it's a justification for him to be a dick and an asshole as he is. because he doesn't take his medicine as a decision, because he doesn't think that he can handle his sickness. And but that doesn't mean that I don't have empathy towards the eyes. I can have empathy for a person that's literally hurting me. And I I think that basically the people that do good and the people that do bad in life, it's just the difference is that our parents and our families understood that with love and light and energy we were going to grow and thrive. But when we're 5 years old children, when we're from 5 to, I don't know, 18 or whatever, we all have the same potential and the same possibilities and the same chances to grow as big trees and thrive and transform pain into light and love and oxygen. And the ones that we don't grow to transform darkness into light, it's because we didn't receive enough light, enough. And I'm not saying I'm one of these. No, 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 no. I can say that I am a very big, strong sakura tree, which means that I am delicate, but I'm a big tree. And I am a cherry blossom tree for sure. But I'm just saying that I think this world lacks empathy, and it's amazing to see how people now don't want to have children so lightly. It's because these generations are becoming more aware of how raising children it's so important. And you might think at this moment, oh my god, she's been talking about 20 different subjects in such a short amount of time. Well, yeah, and if you're paying attention, you can follow. This is how I am. I'm just giving a little brief introduction on a subject, but this subject is extremely broad. And probably every Wednesday or every Thursday, I don't know what day I'm going to post this episode, I'm going to make an episode talking about mental health, and it's going to be to a different note from this episode that I mentioned. And I can even get more deep into um these subjects. But the truth of the matter is, I honestly love to live in this generation where we can freely talk about mental health and we can freely talk about why people prefer to have cats and dogs instead of children. And I am proud. I am proud of being part of this generation, and I am proud of seeing how the world is becoming a better place. And you could even disagree, and we can all disagree depending on how we filter down the information that we consume, that this world is going terribly, and that probably we don't know where we're gonna end up, and it's all scary. But I think that this world is such a wonderful place to live in, and I particularly am surrounded by such amazing people, enlightening people, and there's more information every single day, and there's more channels to spread awareness and love and light and to make our dreams come true. And I think that it's disrespectful for our previous generations to not be who we want to be now, because before they had so many limitations, now they don't have any. Now it's just us against ourselves, and the sky's the limit. So why aren't we going to be the best versions of ourselves? um Talking about mental health particularly, I think that knowing my diagnosis hasn't really changed anything about me. Now it's just a matter of me wanting to know more about my diagnosis and wanting to understand better what are my triggers and what are the things that I need to avoid and what are the things that I need to be more careful about. But I think that the beauty of mental health or mental disorders is that we all have something. Just some of us are aware enough to get ourselves checked, or some of us have family that loved us and they were able to communicate that something wasn't right, and some others we just normalize it. Like I normalized depression and anxiety and a lot of things uh in my life early when I was younger. But I think that we all have some type of either ADHD, OCD, even autism. Like we all have something, you know? And that's what makes us humans. We're not perfect. And I think that the beauty of this topic is that it doesn't matter what diagnosis you have. As long as you're alive and as long as you have the willpower of becoming the best version of yourself, everything is going to be okay. And I am at peace. I'm at peace because now I know something that I didn't know in the past. And now I know what I need to do to protect my peace at all costs, because before I was sacrificing it too much and my health was paying the price for it. And I think, guys, that no one's health, no one's brain, no one's heart, and no one's soul should pay the price for decisions and expectations and other ways that other people put in us. I think that it's not about being selfish, but protecting your peace at all costs is the best and the only thing that we came to do in this life. Protect our peace at all costs and make sure that we give away peace to every single person around us. Thank you for listening. I hope that this episode was not too much to digest. I would love to hear any thoughts about what mental health is for you, and if you'd like me to get any more deep into any of the subtopics that I touched on while I was recording this episode, please feel free to send me a message or DM or just leave a comment here and I'll make sure to check it out. I hope that this episode was able to transport you into this portal of awareness, life, and evolution. And thank you once again for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.